All right, welcome friends. Final exam. Honestly, where did this year go? Okay, this is to give only radian degrees. This is a unit circle thing, and you're going to be given a unit circle. If you look at the list that your teacher gave you of things that are going to be on the final, it tells you that you're going to need to do each of these kinds of things. Taking a drink, trying to keep my voice. So this is a greatest common factor problem, just like the first thing on the list in your yellow sheet. They both have a tangent. So I take that out front. When I divide a tangent out of here, I get a tangent. When I divide a tangent out of here, I get a 1. So now I need them to equal 0. And so that means either this tangent of theta can equal 0 or this tan theta minus 1 can equal 0, which would imply that the tangent of theta would have to equal 1. Now I have my two things that I can go to the unit circle and look for. So it says to do radians, so I look around first for where the tangent is 0, and my super nice teacher put it on there for me, so I don't even have to memorize it. So the first place is at 0 or 2 pi. They're the same spot. And the other place at 0 is over at pi. Then it asks for where it's 1. That's going to be at pi over 4 and at 5 pi over 4. And if you're like, whoa, how do you know that? Because it's on the unit circle. Right there, in front of your face. Okay. Then if I look at this problem, I think back to the good old days when maybe this was y squared minus y minus 2 equals 0. And I would factor that to solve. I'm going to do the same thing here. So here I would have set it up like y, and to get this 2, I'd need a 2 times 1. To get a negative 1 in the middle, I'd go like that. And since it needs to be 0, I would go, oh, y has to be negative 1 or y has to be positive 2. But that's algebra. That's so like last year. So now I'm going to do the same exact thing, except where there were y's, I'm going to have cosines. So I'm going to break this down. Still got equals 0. I either need this, just like when I was factoring over here, or I have a factor of cosine theta. I didn't leave myself enough room. Minus 2. That's how this factors out. So if you look in your notes or on that list, it says you might have to unfoil. That's what I'm doing. So I need each of these things to be 0. So here, that would only be true if the cosine was equal to negative 1. And here it would only be true if the cosine was equal to positive 2. Well, it's never going to be equal to positive 2 because it only goes up to 1. So that doesn't contribute any options. And the only thing I have to go to the unit circle with is the cosine of negative 1. So I'm looking around and I'm looking around. Cosine is x, and I'm trying to find where, if anywhere, the cosine is x. And the answer is that the cosine will be x at pi. So that's all I get. Then if I look at my trusty little list that my teacher gave me of what's on the test, the next thing it talks about is combining like terms. Suspiciously, the next problem is a like terms problem. It's almost like my teacher made that worksheet right off the list. Something to ponder. So I need to combine like terms. Just like if you had a problem x plus 1 equals negative x minus 1, you would start moving all the x's over and so on. I'm going to do the same thing. But now I'm in big person math, so I'm going to do this 3 sine. I'm going to add it to the other side. So now I have 4, because there was 1 there already. 4 sine theta plus 1 equals negative 1. And they don't cancel, because to move it over, I have to subtract 1. So then I end up with 4 sine theta equals negative 2. And then when I do a little dividing, boom, boom, that ends up being, I need a sine of theta to be negative 1/2. So this is what I can finally look up on my unit circle. So let me think. Where's the sine of theta? Keeping in mind that sine is y, where's that going to have a value of negative 1/2? I feel like 11 pi over 6 will be one spot and 7 pi over 6. Probably so. Okay, then I look at my trusty rusty list and it says I also have to be prepared to use that. Oh, guess what? That's what I need here. So I'm going to move my 1 over by adding. You remember adding from first grade. Then I'm going to divide by 4. And I'm going to bust out my square root sign, remembering that I have to introduce it using a plus or minus. So the square and the root cancel. And then I'm going to get cosine theta. And the square root of 1 today is 1 every day. The square root of 4 is 2. So I don't have to rationalize or anything because the square root of 4 is just 2. It's not a radical. So this is what I'm going to go to the unit circle to look for. And since this blue writing is hogging my answer line, I'm just going to go for it right down here. Places where the cosine, meaning x, is positive or negative 1/2 by Shara Hadid. Here we go. First place I can think of is at pi thirds. Second place I can think of is at 2 pi thirds. I hope this is right. I don't have a unit circle. The next place I can think of that would be true is at 4 pi thirds. And lastly, wow, that's a bad 3, is at 5 pi thirds. So hopefully that's true. So that's going to be my solving trig problems. That's like the first chunky of information that I need. All right, let's move on to law of sines. What is the law of sines? You should have that in your notes. It's where I have the sine of each angle over the side that matches it, meaning they'd be across from each other in the triangle. Those ratios stay the same. So that is the law of sines. It's asking me to find side A, which will be this guy because that's across from side A, keeping in mind that I don't have all the 3 angles and I need a pair of information, side and angle. So they gave me side B, but I know angle B through subtraction because it has to add up to 180. So I'm going to bust out my calculator because why not? I'm also going to check that I'm in degree mode because that would really be bad. So 180, I'm going to take away the 58 and the 33 that they already gave me. So I'm getting something that doesn't make any sense. 180 minus 58. Oh, that's because I'm dumb. Actually, it's because I can't see. So 180 minus 58 minus 93 is 29. That seems way more logical. Okay, so now I have a pair. I can say the sine of angle B, which is 29 degrees, over side B, which is hopefully 16, now that I'm convinced I can't see, equals the sine of 93 degrees over A. And I'm going to cross multiply. That means I'm going to do 16 times sine 93. And that has to equal A times sine 29. So I'm going to do my 16 sine 93 first. And then I'm going to divide that because I'm trying to get A alone. And so I'm going to divide out that sine 29. And I'm getting that A equals 32.957. So like 32.96. And I know people were asking what to round to. If it doesn't say, that's why we're doing this test this way. I can see your work and I'll be able to see, what you got and how you got it. So it's not as important that you round properly, but at least give a couple decimals rather than rounding up to a whole number all the time since we are in big people math. And by the way, if it says to use the law of sines for these problems, you should probably do that. So here where it says to find the measure, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be doing an angle, so I'll need to use sine inverse at the end. And if I'm looking for angle C, I'm going to have to partner up with side C. And I need a pair. So where do I have a pair? I have a pair right here. Oopsies. Right here. Except for I wrote on it and I can't see it more than I already couldn't see it because I'm a blind old gal. Holy moly. On the struggle bus right now. Okie doke. So yeah, can't see. Why is it erasing everything else? Can you guys just help me out here? It's not supposed to be this hard. All right. So I do know 88. I hope that says that. And that's over 26. And I do not know angle C. So here we go. I'm going to cross multiply here. So I'll have 21 times the sine of 88. And then that has to equal 26 times the sine of C. Well, I need the sine of C alone. So I'll ultimately divide these by 26. Close this bad boy down on your calculator. 21 sine 88. Close, divide by 26. Then I get a weird decimal. But weird decimals are people too, so it's okay. 0.8072. And now I'm looking for the angle that's equal to the sine of the angle. So I have to use sine inverse because I'm looking for an angle. So I'm going to go ahead on my calculator and do second, sine, second, and then the negative sign, which will give me answer. And that way I don't have to translate that decimal. You'll just do it for me if you're feeling lazy. So then the measure of angle C is 53.8 degrees. And now my notability won't get smaller. That seems pretty reasonable. In the next one, it says to do the area. I have two area formulas. It says to use the given information. So let me attempt once again to erase. I actually could do both ways, and I did this on the answer key because I do know all three sides. So I could use that Hurons or Heroes formula depending on who's talking. And that's where I know side, side, side. I find the semi-perimeter by taking the three sides and adding them up and then dividing them in half because it's semi-perimeter as in half. So 16.1. So I'm getting 31.55. And then my area would follow that formula where you have to take S and then S minus each side. And I'll just be doing this for the next 20 years of my life. And then you have to do all that into your calculator. And I'm not gonna, because this one also provides me with enough information to use my side angle side formula, because I can use these two sides and the angle they form. And that one's a little easier to do in my calculator because there the area is 1/2 one of the sides, the second side, and then the sine of the angle in between them. So since I use these two sides, I use that 88. Now, whether you do the one that I did down here in purple or the one I just did in blue, it doesn't matter. You're going to get the same answer. I'm working on my little calculator here. So, it's just not a video without coughing. 168.9 is what I got either way. And I did run the numbers in the purple one earlier, so I know that's right. Okie doke. Wow, we have a lot to do. I'm going to probably do this first video through here and then post it, and then I can tackle polar and vector next, but my voice needs a little break. So let's keep hustling through these and see how we do. This is going to be law of cosines. If you forgot the law of cosines, it looks like this, c squared. But we're not going to be obsessive about the letters. We're going to remember that these two have to be the same, so they can both be A or B or C or D or E or F for all the 26 letters. It doesn't matter. And one of those is what you're looking for. One of them is your unknown. So if you're looking for a side, this will be unknown. If you're looking for an angle, this will be unknown. And you'll ultimately need to use cosine inverse because that's what happens when you're looking for an angle. So these are the things to kind of think about. Then these bad boys in here, these are just going to be the two other sides. So let's take a look. Here they're giving me a triangle and they're asking me to find the length of side C, which has to be across from C, so it's this one. Across from B and across from A. I've got all my sides labeled. So if I'm trying to find C, I'm actually going to be having C squared out front because that's where my unknowns go. They either go at the beginning or the end. So that's going to equal A squared plus B squared. I'm just following the formula. Minus 2 times A, and it doesn't matter who goes where. It's just the other two sides. And then times the cosine of that angle C, which of course I can't see, but it's 95. And this is the one where you can like straight shot all of this into your calculator because everything is known. You know all of it. So you just have to be careful that you're not typing something in wrong. I'm not confident about that. 22 squared. I got 960. Oopsies, don't write with the highlighter. And then I would square root it. So I'm getting that C is 30.995, so basically 31. Given the other numbers, that makes sense, because looking at my picture, that's an obtuse angle, so that's the biggest angle. So this side that I was looking for has to be the biggest side. And if you have a 20, a 22, and then a 31, that seems pretty logical. Okay, this one's asking me to find the area of the triangle using the given information. So let's get rid of all the fluffies. Or not. Help me out, eraser. Okay, this one doesn't give me options. It is only side, angle, side. So I'm going to use the easy one. 1/2 times the side one times the other side. Doesn't matter which one goes where. Times the sine of the angle they create. I am getting 219.2-ish. Okay, let's do this last one, and then I will post at least this first phase of the review video. Then we're going to take a little voice break. So going into this, I see I'm doing an angle, so I'm going to have to use inverse. And since I don't have any angles, I can't have a pair, so this has to be law of cosines. So ultimately, I'll be using cosine inverse at the very end. Now, if I need to find angle B, then that means I need to start in my formula with the one across from it. Because like I said, they have to be the same letter and one's unknown. So my unknown is going to be at the very end, and it's going to be angle B. I'm trying to make it bigger. There we go. So if angle B is at the end, then side B is out in front of the equal sign. And my other two given sides just plug into the formula from there. Now, this thing is like my unknown. And so I have to go, this is where I do that waltz. I do the 1, 2, 3. I can do this one number, these two, and these three. So calculator time. So this is going to be 289. I made a mistake on my calculator, sorry. 221. And then 2 times 10 times 11. Now these are attached, so it's like having a 5x. So I can't put the 221 and the 220 together. That's the favorite wrong thing to do. So I always subtract whatever this number is at this stage. And so I'll have 289 minus that. My very fun blue line is really in the way. So now I'm at this. And this is multiplied by the cosine B, so I'm going to divide by 220 at this stage. So 68 divided by negative 220. So at this point I have negative 0.30909. That is equal to the cosine of B. So I need to do cosine inverse of that answer. So second cosine, second negative sign, so it says answer. And I'm getting 108.00, so I'm just going to call it 108 degrees. Okay, that's a good stopping point, and that'll maybe make this a little easier to upload. So I will get this posted for you, and then I will post the sequel when I can do that. See you soon. Bye, guys.